Bit here are the match stats of the game, and like I said, let's hear from Mauricio Pochettino after yet another loss with the USA.
I think overall, I think we were better than South Korea, but then you are more clinical, in your own area and in the opposite box, and it's difficult. I am so pleased if I put the result in another side. I am so pleased in the way that we are evolving from the World Cup today with different players, different roster than the World Cup, but also the players that start to understand what we expect from them. And the way that I performed today, I think we were better. Disappointed, of course, because I am very disappointed about the result. But I think overall in the performance, in all that maybe we were talking in the past, I think I didn't see that, and I think it's a massive improvement. And I think in this way that I told the player, I think the result will arrive soon, for sure.
All right, well, at this point, let's welcome in our Jeff Carlisle, who was actually at the game. But Ali, I'm going to have to start with you on this one. We just heard from Mauricio Pochettino, and he used words and phrases like massive improvements, very pleased, thought we were the better team. Were we watching the same game?
Well, I think we have to go over the definition of what a good performance is and what that should include. Because when he makes the separation of saying, hey, well, the difference of the game was what happened in our box and what happened in their box, well, that's included in the good performance, is it not? I have to imagine that in the totality of a game, and you think about what your performance has been like, you have to include whether you defended well and whether you attacked well. And when you consider those areas of the field, I think there was a marked difference between what South Korea could do in those areas of the field and what the United States did in those areas of the field. Coming into this match, I think we all would have agreed that South Korea and the US are kind of in the similar level going into a World Cup. The goal is getting out of the group, maybe potentially, maybe you somehow are able to win a round of 16, and then after that, whatever happens, it's a plus. I think that's where both of these national teams would have been coming into this match, at least in my estimation. And yet I watched the match yesterday, and I thought, when it comes to important positions on the field, game-changing positions on the field, you watch Son Heung-min play, and you watch some of their attacking players as compared to the United States and their attacking players, and you go, the difference is bigger than what we thought. And I can say the same thing about the defending part of the game and the center back position, and whether it would be unfair or not to highlight and to single out Tristan Blackman because he's making his debut with the national team. Tim Ream is not making his debut with the national team. He seems to have been there for 1,000 years. And Serginho Dest hasn't defended in 1,000 years. And that hasn't changed. And so, look, I keep waiting. And call me crazy, but I keep waiting to see and to watch a match of the United States under Mauricio Pochettino and say, hey, that looked like something.
This is it. They're on to something.
Hey, I can see a game plan here. I can see what the structure of the team is. I can see how they're going to get out of tight areas and how they're going to build from the back and how they're going to build through the midfield and how they're going to expose players in wide areas. I could see what South Korea was trying to do. Shout out to my former teammate, Hong Myung-bo, the coach for South Korea. I could see a game plan. And yes, the game plan is dependent upon what Son Heung-min does, but they put players around him that run around him and beyond him, and they're able to work off of him. You don't have that with the United States because you don't have that player, but you also don't have a structure of play that you go, okay, all right, they showed me something. I don't think they've shown anybody enough just yet.
Wow, how time flies. Ali's teammates are now coaches. Anyways, let's go to Jeff Carlisle. Jeff, you were at this game. What stood out to you?
Well, what stood out to me was just the lack of organization along the back line. The spaces, you could drive a truck through, and Son Heung-min is much quicker and much more adept at exploiting those spaces than a truck. I think Serginho Dest in particular was just not connected with the likes of Tristan Blackman and Tim Ream. And so, and on top of that, you've got two midfielders in Sebastian Berhalter and Tyler Adams, who I don't think did a whole lot to really protect the back line from the kind of passes that South Korea was able to score on. So that's what really jumps out to me. In terms of the attack, it looked okay at times. I mean, it was good to see Serginho Dest back on the field and contributing to the attack. But like I said before, he didn't really provide much of anything on the defensive end. Things did look better after Mauricio Pochettino went to a three-man backline, but that was in the 62nd minute. And by then, the damage was done. I mean, South Korea were basically in control of this game. They weren't going to expose themselves and try to push for another goal. They were going to try to soak up some pressure and just see this result out. And that's exactly what they did. So it's a little mystifying for me to say, or to hear Mauricio Pochettino say, we outplayed them, we outchanced them. Listen, South Korea deserved to win that game, and they did so comfortably. And so I think if you're a U.S. fan, you've really got to be alarmed at the way this team is just not progressing. They don't look any closer to being World Cup ready than they did when Mauricio Pochettino first took over. Now, okay, he's experimenting, he's trying out new players, but there were some starters on that field as well, and I don't think they showed particularly well in this game, on Saturday. So a lot of questions for Mauricio Pochettino going forward, and things need to change quickly. I mean, he's really got to decide what his lineup is and start building some cohesion and some chemistry, because I'm seeing very little of that on the field right now.
And as Jeff said, a lot of questions now for Mauricio Pochettino, Stevie, going forward. What are some of the questions you have for him? Because I actually took your question to Ale when we were listening to him speak after you turned to Ale and said, were we watching the same match that he was?
The question to Pochettino is, really? I mean, I at no stage in this game and in most of the other games are you looking at your screen going, USA is going to score in a minute. They're controlling this game. Eventually, they're going to get that breakthrough. Never in a million years did we ever think that in this game at all. I don't think South Korea were under any real pressure at any stage. The only time they were under any pressure was when they gave the ball away in their own defensive third. Other than that, the US couldn't hurt them. And it wasn't, as Jeff said, till 60-odd minutes when he made the 4 changes. But then, again, Jeff said it, the game was done. I mean, I honestly can't. They need to figure out what they're going to do, because they're going to play in the group of 4, they're going to play 2 betters that are clearly better than them, the US. And if they're lucky in the draw and they get a donut to guarantee them 3 points, that could scrape them in. But against better sides, which they're going to be, at least 2, they can't beat them. I can tell you right now, they won't beat them. They've got to figure out how they're going to get any points from them. And that means getting men behind the ball. Forget that you think you can go and play, because right now, against anybody who's on their level or better than them on paper, they can't deal with it. They can beat the minnows. They've shown that they can beat the minnows, but they can't beat anybody of any note. And the sooner Pochettino realises that and gets his team ready for the World Cup, that they're going to get men behind the ball. If they don't, if they continue to try and play, then they might not even get out of the group.
Jeff mentioned a word there, cohesion. It's impossible to have that if you keep rotating players in and out. Now, some of that has to do with injuries and absences and this and that and the other. But guess what? Time continues to move forward. Breaking news. Time continues to move forward. And we're getting closer and closer to the World Cup, but we're not any closer to figuring out, as I mentioned before, what is it that this team is trying to do on the field. They're neither an attacking, possession-based team nor a counter-attacking team. So they're neither here nor there. You want to find that cohesion, you got to provide structure. This is who we are. This is how we're going to go about winning games. And you go back to the second goal by South Korea yesterday, and that lack of cohesion really showed itself defensively. If there was one player out of South Korea, I give you the whole country of South Korea, all of it, one player that you have to pick up, that you have to address, who would that be, Stevie?
Can you come back to me?
Alexis, who do you think that would be?
Sonny.
Yeah. And yet that guy was allowed to drop off the back line, receive the ball, take a touch, look up, and then make a decision to play a give and go. Now, let's just assume that you give that initial space, which is a mistake to begin with. But then you got to stay with the runner too. Oh, no. No. Late to step to Son, late to run with Son. And so some would say, well, that's just the back line that's out of position. Well, what about the tracking midfielders? What about these players that are supposed to be helping? Part of your structure would allow you to account for those spaces if you had the right connection between lines, which doesn't exist currently for the United States. You see the amount of sort of sliding tackles that Tyler Adams has to do. I'm going to throw a name at you. At his prime, how many sliding tackles do you think Sergio Busquets was doing for Barcelona? Not many. And yet, they're regaining possession of the ball because of position, because of organization, because we're pressing together in certain areas. Now, what I'm saying is, a lot of the times the United States get themselves out of position because they want to do the job with 3 people. Just do your job. Clarify what his job is, clarify what his job is, and now we all know what the plan is and how we're structured to defend and how we're structured to attack. This team right now, and that's the concerning part. That's the concerning part. There is no structure. There is no cohesion. There doesn't seem to be a plan. That's scary.
Well, another concerning part, Jeff, for the USA is, as Ale mentioned, when it comes to South Korea, we know the man that you will always have your eye on is Sonny. For the USA, you could argue that that man is Christian Pulisic, but he didn't really have an impact last night, did he?
He didn't. I mean, I thought he and Serginho Dest linked up reasonably well a few times in the first half, but there were some heavy touches. You know, there were some passes that were just a smidgen off, and, you know, he wasn't really able to create a whole heck of a lot. On top of that, I mean, at this stage, Mauricio Pochettino needs to find someone else to take set pieces, because every time Christian Pulisic is on the ball taking a set piece, you know, he's not clearing the first man on a corner kick. He's not coming near the target on a free kick. You know, Sebastian Berhalter was on the field, and the time that he took a free kick, he put it right on Chris Richards' thigh, and Richards probably should have scored. So I just think, moving forward, Pulisic cannot be taking set pieces, and, you know, he's got to up his game. I mean, he's got to be the guy that the U.S. looks to be that creative force. I'm not saying he can be the only guy, but he's got to be front and center. And yesterday, you know, there were flashes, but I think at this point, the U.S. needs more than flashes. They need consistency, and they need him to really step up and be an ever-present force in the attack.
I think that's it seems a bit harsh on Pulisic, to be honest with you. Do you think Kylian Mbappe would have done any better in this game? Because
well, I hope so.
The US can't get the ball to Christian Pulisic, certainly not with any pace. It's 45 passes from the back to the halfway line. The opposition, whether it's South Korea or anybody else, drop off, and then there's no space. You know, there's nobody trying to play an early ball forward to get Pulisic on the ball and give him some space to do something. Whenever he gets it, he's got 5, 6, and 7 guys around him. So they don't have anybody in the middle of the park that actually looks to go forward early who can accurately pick him out. It's way too slow, and so by the time he gets it, I mean, he's not Superman, is he?
You know what the key is for Christian Pulisic? And I cannot believe I'm going to reference this name. Gio Reyna.
Oh.
Gio Reyna, at his best, whatever his best is, because we haven't seen it in a while, but at his best, takes pressure off of Christian Pulisic. Mm-hmm. Attracts attention away from Christian Pulisic and allows Christian Pulisic to play off the ball and be more of a runner, rather than the guy who has to create, build, pass, and provide the final touch. But if I'm having to reference Gio Reyna as the hope for the United States, then again, we are going into this sort of unknown territory of that we don't know what this team is. And I only mentioned Gio Reyna because I don't think that Diego Luna is the answer for that. He may very well be against lesser opposition, but once you get into World Cup opposition, I don't quite think, as much as I like his level of activity, as much as I like the fact that he has a certain attitude about him, I don't think he has the skill set that is required to play that position consistently, linking the midfield and the rest of the attack. And so
what does he do?
Well, that is a fair question. But I think to Jeff's point, somebody has to take control of the attack. And it's not going to be Diego Luna. It's not going to be Joe Sargent, because once again, Joe Sargent gets an opportunity to play and didn't quite live up to the expectations given what he's been doing in the championship. The guy's scoring goals everywhere. It comes to the United States, it's not goal dangerous at all. And that's just the reality of it. And so it has to be Christian Pulisic. But we know that. The opposition knows that too. So they address Christian Pulisic. And until somebody else appears as a threat, as a credible threat, the United States are going to have a real difficult time creating opportunities, because everybody's going to be looking at Pulisic. He's going to be crowded out, and eventually there's no threat on the other side.
Jeff, as we've pointed out many a time, that it's been about a year with Mauricio Pochettino in charge, and the thing that just stands out is still no identity, still no evolution, still no signs of positive improvement, at least for us, for this U.S. men's national team. Is there any chance that if things continue like this in the next couple of friendlies before the USA has to name their roster for the World Cup, that we could potentially not see Mauricio Pochettino as head coach of the USA come the World Cup?
Well, there are no absolutes in life. But I would be shocked if Mauricio Pochettino is not managing the U.S. at the World Cup next summer. I mean, the USSF has invested a considerable amount of money in Mauricio Pochettino, $6 million at least. And, that's in addition to his staff and everybody that he's brought with him. So, yeah, I don't think there's any chance that Mauricio Pochettino gets cut loose. I mean, and who are you going to bring in at this stage? I mean, granted, there are managers, around the world who are kind of these vagabonds who take over teams right before the World Cup. But, I mean, that would be a disaster situation for the U.S. Soccer Federation, and it'd be a disaster situation for the U.S. men's national team, because now there's someone else that they've got to try to get used to and try to grasp their concepts and how they think they should play. I mean, if that were to happen, it would just be a complete mess.
It's right or die right now with Pochettino.
Yeah.
But I just want to bring it back very quickly to a point that Stevie made about, in a group stage situation, what are the sort of teams that the United States should be beating in order, or must beat in order to make it and advance to the next round? South Korea.
Yeah.
Japan. That's the sort of team that you're going to have to get through in order to advance. Teams that could be at your level or just above you. And we're seeing it right in front of us. And it's not just those teams. We go back to some of the other friendlies. Turkiye. It's the same story. Switzerland, same story. It's getting to the point now to where you're seeing too many evidences that point in the wrong direction. South Korea, Switzerland, Turkey, those are the teams that you have to be able to get a result against in the World Cup if indeed you're going to advance. And what do they have in common? They've all beaten the United States. So, look, I want to be Mr. Positive here. I want to find positivity somewhere, but it's difficult. It's hard.
Good luck with that.
It's hard because I want to see it from the eyes of Pochettino and these players that are trying to tell me, no, we feel better about ourselves after the match against South Korea than we did in the Gold Cup. Well, I mean, the bar is very low. If that's the bar, then I think we ought to think of the United States as a team that should be far more competitive and far more structured than what they're right now. 6-0.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure Arda Güler wants to go home and take a nap after Turkiye getting absolutely thrashed by Spain, but that's something that probably a few may have expected in this matchup. Let's welcome in a man who knows a thing or two about winning himself, Frank Leboeuf. Oh. Frank, thank you so much for joining us. I know exactly how much you love your rivals, Spain, and when you see them playing like this, it's so obvious that they're better than France, right?
I have to admit that you're right, Alexi. I mean, we also, the favorite of the next World Cup today. I mean, everything was perfect. The tactic, how they handled the game, how they handled the spirits of the away crowd. And after 3 minutes, they already scored one goal, and after it's one goal after one goal. But the simplicity of the game, the technique of all the players, the involvement of the players offensively and defensively. I mean, De La Fuente must be the most happiest guy in the world as a coach right now, because those guys, they know how to play and they know exactly how to play together. It's not a team of a country. It's a club. It's like they all know how to play together and how to move together. That's really amazing. I mean, I enjoyed France for 65 minutes last time against Ukraine, but I saw a different level. Even if I think that's against France, it would be more difficult because Montella, the Turkish coach, decided to play with lots of enthusiasm, let's say, let's go for it. No, you don't do that against Spain because you're going to be punished. And he's been punished because I have to tell you, the Turkish goalkeeper was the best player of the Turkish team because he made like 5 or 6 saves. So he saved a lot. It says a lot about how Spain handled that game. I mean, again, I clearly saw today, the favorite of the next World Cup.
Wow, I was absolutely rage baiting Frank there, and he actually admitted today it's a resigned Frank Leboeuf, not something we usually see. But Ale, you and I tend to fight over who should be the president of the Pedri fan club. But how good was he to watch today?
Well, first of all, have you traded a child for Pedri? Because I have.
I don't have any children to trade, Ale.
So by default, I should be the president.
You are the president.
Of the Pedri fan club. And if I were to define Pedri today, I'm going to borrow a word that Frank just used there, simplicity. His whole game, it's great in its simplicity. He makes it look so very easy to play the position that he plays on the field. Every touch seems to have a purpose, and not just every pass, but every first touch that takes him away from pressure so that he can find the next pass. There is no wasted movement with Pedri. There is no wasted touch with Pedri. And I think the best thing I could say is that Spain wins 6-0, and I don't think that Pedri broke sweat today. In the simplicity of his game. He looked, while everybody else is running around, he looked like he was in warm-up mode. And you're just getting a touch here and a touch there. If you watch a warm-up from teams, they're just trying to get a lot of touches. This is what Pedri does over 90 minutes. Just a touch here and a touch there. And I turn away from this pressure and find that touch there and I find that pass there. And then he's also adding goals to his game, which I think is the one thing that over the years I've been saying all along he's been missing is being more of a presence in the attacking 18-yard box. That seems to be something he has added to his game this year, not only with Spain, but with Barcelona as well. Look, I love me some Pedri. I have said that all along, but the simplicity of his game is something that everybody can relate to and everybody can fall in love with.
Back to the basics. And Stevie, speaking of the basics, I mean, I think Turkiye showed us a masterclass of how not to defend against Spain. But if you're a coach, which you were, how do you set up your team to defend against this Spain?
Wow, how long have we got?
As long as you can give us.
Well, listen,
Park the bus.
you really have to, at some stage in a game like this, decide that you're going to try and not be embarrassed.
Yeah.
You know, and that was the biggest surprise from Turkey, that they kept going about it the same way. To me, that if I'm in charge of Turkey and my coach is doing this at home in front of his home fans and playing the way they are and getting absolutely slaughtered, because this could have been 10, then I wouldn't be happy. But at the same time, you got to say that Spain were just on a different planet. You know, Ali's talking about the simplicity of Pedri. The good thing for Spain and the bad thing for everybody else on the planet is they've got a team full of players who keep the game simple. They have players who can complicate it, like Yamal, can go try and beat 5-6 players. I mean, there's so many things involved in that goal that looks so easy. And that's what this Spain team does. Spain makes the game look easy.
And one of the things that, coming into this match, you may have thought, well, Spain going into Turkey. It's not easy to play at Turkey. Away from home, and the pressure and the intensity and the energy and the Turkish fans. And you know how you take all of that away? When you don't let them touch the ball. When they cannot get close enough to you to tackle you. When you're not asking for trouble because you're keeping the ball in your defensive half. No. All of this possession that Stevie's talking about is happening in the attacking half. Tack, 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 tack. And Turkey's just, what? Hey, what?
Can't get close.
They can't get close. They can't come in for a tackle that gets the crowd on their feet. No. And you do that for the first 5 minutes, and when Turkey thinks that they get a hold of the game, Pedri scores the first goal in the 6th minute. And then after that, every time that Spain went on the attack, it felt like it was 5 Spanish players against 2 Turkish players. And let me just tell you, that math is not going to work.
Frank, that was tiki-taka at its finest. I could tell, I could hear you, I could tell how much you enjoyed that goal from Mikel Merino. But final thoughts on Spain?
Well, you know what? Tiki-taka is not that kind of football that I see and that I enjoy. Tiki-taka is mostly what you do to prepare an action. They use that to finish the action, and they were in the 18-yard box to show how football is simple and so beautiful in that matter if you know how technically how to serve your teammate. And it's what the players, they try to do. I heard words from Michel Platini saying, if you don't know how to control a ball, if you don't know how to make a good pass, if you don't know, if you don't understand that your teammates need to receive a ball that you would love to receive, which means a nice ball, not a bouncy one, that's football. And it's what Spain is doing. They have the pressure of the away fans and everything, but technically, tactically, and in their head, they know exactly what they have to do. I mean, I'm with Stevie on the second goal. That's a beauty. It's why I'm against the Ballon d'Or. It's because that's what I want to see in football. I don't care about the individual. I want to see the collective. And what I saw today, my wife, I was watching the game, my wife said, are you Spanish today or what? I said, no, but you have to enjoy that. You have to enjoy. I got up and I clapped when I saw the second goal because that's what we want to see. That's why we love football, because players with their feet are capable of doing something absolutely fantastic and so, again, simple. And that's the biggest and the most difficult things to do in football.
Well, the Spanish play football as wonderfully and beautifully as the French speak French. Well, there's more Spanish football coming your way. Frank and I have an argument about that. We'll get to it off camera, but there's more Spanish football coming your way this week. La Liga back on ESPN. It all kicks off on Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern time on ESPN+. If you have a look at how things are looking in Group A World Cup qualifiers, you'll see that they're still in a spot of bother. They're in 3rd place in the group, level with Northern Ireland and just above Luxembourg. And remember, it's only the top team that qualifies directly. And I think Germany is something that, or a team, Frank, that we expected that would have dominated this group. But Ale, what did you make of the game today? Was it a bit of crisis averted for Nagelsmann?
They were in trouble. In the second half, they were in trouble. The game was 1-1, and it's not like Germany were creating a whole bunch of chances and you were having the goalkeeper having to make saves here and there. That wasn't the case. They were not creating enough. Some of the decisions of Julian Nagelsmann in terms of who he brings on the field and who he takes off didn't quite make sense, because if you're chasing a win at home, I don't know why you are withdrawing attacking players for other attacking players. How about you take a risk? How about you add Max Bayer to play alongside Nick Woltemade and then have Wirtz to float in and around them, or Amiri to float in and around them? It felt like this was a team that could have passed you to death today, Germany. And they're going sideways and back and sideways and back and sideways and back. And because we're watching the game side by side, and you have here Spain and you have here Germany, Spain used to do this sideways and back. And it became, that's like, obsolete. It just so slow and so predictable. And that's not what they're doing now. Germany's now doing this. And they have players to actually stretch the back line. You think of Gnabry, what does he give you? Well, he can run in behind. You think of Florian Wirtz, he has enough speed where he can run in behind beyond Woltemade. But a lot of it was just in front of Northern Ireland. They became very predictable, and actually they depended on a huge mistake by the Northern Ireland goalkeeper that doesn't know what to do when the ball is played in behind. Do I go for the ball? Do I address the player? He does neither, and Amiri has a tap in. And now we eventually find a third goal with Wirtz. It's 3-1, and you're thinking, Germany's all good. I don't think so. No. 9! They're not all good. This is a team that still has issues.
All the things that we spoke about Spain.
Lacking in Germany.
Germany were the complete opposite. They got 3 goals Not one of the 3 goals was through good play from the German. You know, the first one's a ricochet, and it ends up with Gnabry going through. Second one, the goalkeeper is a complete shocker. It's actually gone to Amiri, and it wasn't supposed to go to Amiri. And then the third one's a free kick from outside the box. And in the actual game, they never created one clear chance where you're saying they should have scored. And this is against Northern Ireland, who are just a team that will run hard and chase and fight. And so, yeah, you might have won 3-1, but my goodness.
As a side note.
This was just horrible.
Sorry, Steve. As a side note, and this is very quickly, Nico Schlotterbeck, who was not playing, who was sitting in the box, and the camera focuses on him. Northern Ireland scores, and this is supposed to be one of the candidates to be starting center back for Germany, not playing today. He's laughing. He's enjoying it. Ha ha! Funny. I don't understand how that's funny. And if I were the coach of this team, if I were the manager of this team, and you're laughing at us getting scored on, at the very least, I would have a very stern conversation. At the very least. But I don't know. I think Germany think of themselves as a team that is just going to automatically qualify. You're going to have to play the games. You just lost to Slovakia, and this was a complicated game against Northern Ireland that was unnecessarily stressful. We assume that they're going to beat Luxembourg twice, but we don't know about Germany going into or playing against Slovakia at home or going into Northern Ireland and getting a result. We assume that they're going to be okay. But based on what we have seen so far, who knows?
Well, Julian Nagelsmann had some scathing words about his players after their loss to Slovakia.
Oh,
It'll be
it's their
interesting
fault,
to hear what he has to say. But let's hear what someone else, another big name in German football, has to say. This is Uli Hoeneß. He's a Bayern Munich board member. He says, we're very satisfied at FC Bayern. We are the real winners of the summer transfer window. We have a strong team and didn't need to strengthen it much. Of course, we would have liked to have Florian Wirtz, but we'd never have bought him for 150 million euros. Nicholas Jackson is not a 16.5 million loan fee because the player and his agents are contributing 3 million, so that leaves 13.5 million. And there will definitely not be a permanent contract. That only happens if he plays 40 games from the start, and he will never do that. Oh my days. If you're Nicholas Jackson, I hope you are covering your ears and not reading the German press. But Ale, what on earth is going on here at Bayern?
You just mentioned Nicholas Jackson.
Yeah.
And this is a player that just joined your team, who's feeling good about himself because he just left a situation in Chelsea where he wasn't wanted.
Fought to leave that situation.
And he walks into Bayern Munich thinking, man, I'm full of life. Here I go. And then here comes Uli Hoeneß and says, life. What life? You have no life. You're barely here. You had to pay to come here. And mind you, you think you're going to have a permanent contract here? No chance. 9. That's not happening. I don't understand how this explanation was needed from Uli Hoeneß. I don't want, and if you feel like you have to give this explanation, it's because you know that you come up short in the transfer window. He's talking about the players that they didn't get, that they should have gone after, that they didn't go after, that they weren't going to afford, that they were not going to make an offer on, that they were going to pay this or not pay that. Right, okay. You still haven't addressed the fact that Alphonso Davies is going to be out for a long period of time because of an ACL injury. And so the left back position, you have Josip Stanisic playing there, who's a right-footed player. You haven't addressed the fact that you have Konrad Laimer playing right back, who's not a right back, who's a midfielder. You also haven't addressed the fact that in the midfield, if Joshua Kimmich or Leon Goretzka gets injured, you have Pavlovic, and that's it to take the position of any of those players. You haven't addressed the fact that actually Nico Jackson gives you some depth that you needed in the attack because a few players, including Leroy Sané, were allowed to walk out the door, but there was no answer for those players. And so he may say that they had a successful window. They had an okay window, but they didn't address some of their most dire needs. And the Nico Jackson situation is one that they needed to do because they were running out of time in order to cover for the potential absence of Harry Kane. This was not an excellent window for Bayern Munich.
Frank, you're probably the only pundit on this show that has even tried to stick up for Nico Jackson as well in this transfer saga. But if you're him, you're trying to reinvent your career, you're hoping for a new chapter in Germany, this is the last thing you'd want to hear one of the big bosses at Bayern talking about.
Clearly, but I think he was aware of that. I mean, he knows that it's going to be complicated for him to have a room in that team, and that he would play some minutes. You know, if Kane or somebody else, Nabry, are injured, and before those two players, some others too. So he knows that 40 minutes is going to be hard to be made, but at the end of the day, you still have some hopes that at some point you will have a chance, and if you are good, you know that maybe the coins will flip and it's going to be better. But now you already know that if you reach 39 games, you're not going to play anymore. I mean, it was like a little bit Griezmann, signing what he did, contract, where he couldn't play some minutes every game and they had to be substituted with Atletico Madrid. It seems to be a little bit like that. You know that you have a you have a ceiling, and you cannot go there above there because you're gonna be the problem. It's harsh to hear that, and as Ali said, I don't know why Uliones went public about that, because he doesn't need to. I mean, you can say, "Wow, we're gonna see what is gonna happen, and we're happy with the team we have and the squad we have," but that's it. But don't go into details. I mean, it's not worth it.
Stevie, you having a little chuckle there?
Well, I'm trying to put myself in Vincent Kompany's shoes. I'm thinking, as soon as I hear this, do I go straight round to Jackson's hotel or house, or do I wait till Monday morning to have a word? Because now he has to get him on board. And listen, football is the majority of us are pretty realistic. We know when we're in a situation, whether we're in the team, fighting to get in it, we figure all that out. But what you don't need when you know it's going to be tough to stay there at the end of this season, you don't need somebody slamming the door in your face. And that just makes it worse. It just makes it harder to come into training. It makes it harder sitting on the bench or in the squad if you're not even on the bench. So Vincent Kompany's going to have a man-to-man chat and try and build this guy up a little bit and at least get him to come in with a smile on his face if he can.
You just mentioned there, Stevie, that we tend to be realistic as players, and you know what your situation is. But also the reality of the sport is that there are injuries. So God forbid there's a long-term injury to Harry Kane. And now you're going to have to depend on Jackson, on the guy who you just told him, no,
he's not going to play.
So you just mentioned there, that the door was slammed in his face. This door had just been opened. And Jackson thought, okay, this is an opportunity. And out of nowhere, you've turned to the same player who you were giving life to and said, not so much. This is not for you, not just yet. Again, you don't know how the season develops, and you don't know how important Jackson may be. If you're Bayern Munich, you don't want him to be all that important because that means that Harry Kane is scoring goals for you. But what happens if Harry Kane is injured? Which can happen. It can happen in the game with England. It can happen in the next match with Bayern Munich. And you've already, unnecessarily so, for whatever reason, you've already put this guy to the side. I do not understand whatsoever.
All right, well, less than a week now for the Bundesliga to return on ESPN. Bayern Munich are in action on Saturday against Hamburg. But before that, on Friday, please join us for what looks like a really enticing one. Bayer Leverkusen, without Erik ten Hag, up against Eintracht Frankfurt. That's 2 p.m. Eastern time on ESPN, also on ESPN. All right, let's talk some French football because Frank has been begging us to. Here's L'Equipe's headline. It says, Paris takes the hit. I bet you didn't know I could translate
No, but
French.
read it.
Who told you?
Paris accusait le coup.
Yeah, somebody told me.
Frank, did I say that right? Hopefully.
Accuse.
Accuse.
Yes. See, there is no accent in the end.
Accuse le coup.
Paris accuse le coup.
A muku.
A muku.
Coup that moves.
A mouche boo?
Don't.
Never mind.
Anyways, this of course is in reference, Frank, to the injuries that were picked up by Ousmane Dembélé as well as Desiree Doué. Dembélé looking like he's going to be out for about 6 weeks. Doué for 4 weeks. Deschamps now coming in for a lot of blame. PSG pointing the finger at him. What's going on here?
Well, it's like I've been hearing that kind of complaints from clubs for since I've been involved in football, which is like 40 years. You know, every time club when they think that the players shouldn't have come to the national team because the game was too easy or because it wasn't worth it and got an injury, they're going to say that they're going to sue the federation or asking for changing the protocol, blah, 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 blah. I understand the clubs and they want to protect their players, but if they want to be seen at a big club, they need international players, and therefore the players need to play for the national team. And I just want to recall that in order to if the club or the players decide to not come to with the national team, the player is going to be suspended with his club. So they have to show up. Then on Monday, as Deschamps explained yesterday and today in L'Équipe, today in L'Équipe, that's in fact they have a meeting with the medical staff and with the player, they decide whether he's going to stay or not. So it's what I think they did with Ousmane Dembélé, who got injury on his left hamstring against Toulouse. But I just want to remind that he got injured on the right hamstring with the national team. So that's completely different. But they asked him, and if you're a player, you can say, coach, I don't feel good. I'm either tired or I had a little bit of an injury. So if I can avoid be playing, I'd rather not. And I'm pretty sure that Didier Deschamps would have said, okay, Ousmane, you stay on the bench. So I guess Ousmane say, I'm good and I can play. For Doué, he asked him just before, because Doué say to Deschamps, I feel something, he substituted him. So it's not a problem. But if I understand the club complaining after that, it's hard for Didier Deschamps to get all the blame because it's unfair for me. It's unfair because you have many steps that you can go to avoid those kind of problems. And the club can warn the national team, which I think Paris Saint-Germain didn't really do for Doué and Dembélé. Then the medical staff can talk to Deschamps, then Deschamps can talk to Dembélé, and Dembélé can have the last word. So I guess if he played, it's because he could play, because he was on the bench and at first. So he came on and played and got injured to the other hamstring. Again, that's very important because people say, oh yeah, he was already injured. No, maybe he was compensating, but he was injured to the other hamstring. So I think it's a big stuff for mostly nothing, because we're going to hear that every 2 or 3 months from some clubs to complain about the fact one of the players got injured because they play with the national team. And at the same time, they're very happy to see them playing for the national team because their value goes up.
Welcome into Extra Time, everyone. Excited?
You went with the shoulder pads today, right?
I went with a very, I'm a 90s baby, but I went with a
little 80s
elevated shoulder look.
Oh,
I'm a maniac.
Maniac on
she heard Dallas was coming back, so she's.
What's Dallas? Like the state?
What's
That's
Dallas?
City?
That's a
Dallas?
Balmain fashion.
Do you like it,
That's
Frank?
a Balmain fashion.
Oh,
Yes,
wow.
it's signed Balmain. Yes,
Balmain.
it is.
Thank you very
Balmain
much.
with a
If
shoulder.
only this cost as much as that. It was about $25. But it's still
Hey, you overpaid
That's
for
not
it
the
then.
same
it's
price
giving
then.
expensive.
That's not a Balmain then.
No, but Frank, anytime.
That's definitely not a Balmain.
I know, as we say in Jamaica, your pockets run long. So anytime you want to send me a Balmain, anything, it could be a hairpin, I'm here. I'm here. All right, let's start off, shall we? What's more confusing, Pochettino's player selections for this window, trying to figure out the style of soccer that Poch is trying to play, or Poch's post-match comments? Ale, we'll start with you. You already look confused.
Easy peasy, that,
Well,
isn't it? Easy peasy.
I'm going to put aside the player selection because we can have a whole separate conversation on that. But the scary part, as we mentioned in the show, is that we don't quite know exactly what any group of players that he calls in is trying to do. We don't know yet what the game plan is for the United States under Mauricio Pochettino. But I think I have to say, his post-match comments are just not close to reality. And I suppose that I understand why he's saying it, because he has to maintain a certain level of positivity and he has to maintain a certain level of credibility with the players, and you have to keep them up and the morale and all of that. So I'm thinking it's more difficult to try to figure out their style because there is no style just yet. You can excuse why he would be saying the things that he's saying. Not quite sure that he believes them, but I think he finds it important for the players to protect them as much as they can.
Here at least, but we know when he's outside
Well, yes,
of
yeah,
the
but
USA.
I know.
He speaks a lot more candidly.
I don't know. Do you agree, Stevie?
Well, but I'm sorry, Ali. I'm sorry, I have a question. You know, when we saw Spain playing and you saw United States playing, and do you think how much is the influence to De La Fuente style of playing for Spain and tactic that he plays, and Poch influence on the American no style playing, and the fact that in Spain you have fantastic players and not so much for the American team. So the fact is, it can be complicated for a national team coach to find a way or a style to play if you don't have the players to do what you want them to do.
Well, what I would say about that, Frank, and I think is the most logical answer, is that the United States haven't had top-tier talent in their national team. And yet, they found coaches that are able to find a structure and an organization and a style of play that has allowed this team to be competitive in the World Cup, to the point to where they consistently make it out of the group, consistently they're in a conversation of potentially making it into the quarterfinals if they beat a round of 16 team. They're there. And so my point would be to Mauricio Pochettino is, look, let's not blame the lack of talent within the United States. You make the best of what you have available and find a style and find a structure and an organization that matches that level of talent, that matches what is it that you can do within your own limitations. Understand what your limitations are, understand what your weaknesses are, and exploit the strong points that you do have. Other coaches have been able to do that in the United States and make this team competitive. Right now, where we are, this team doesn't seem to be competitive in the world stage. That's what we have seen according to the evidence that we have seen so far under Pochettino.
All I have to say is just like how we have a USA Ale and a Mallorca, Barcelona, España Ale, we have a USA Mauricio Pochettino and an España Mauricio Pochettino.
Yeah.
All right, next question now. Is Pedri too good to be playing as a central midfielder, and should he be moved closer to goal to let his talent shine? Ale, as president of the Pedri fan club.
Well, I'll pass it on to Stevie.
Oh.
If anybody moves Pedri from where he is, they want to stick him in an island on their own and leave them there.
He's that engine.
That's what they need to do. If anybody tries to change this kid, they want stuck in a cannon and fired somewhere. He is the class player he is because of where he plays. If you try and be clever and move him further forward, then you will negate some of the ability and certainly the vision with some of his passes from the middle of the park. You will destroy that.
And you have to trust that he can read the game accordingly when he can join in the attack. Allow him to feel the game, which I think we can all agree he has a good feel for how things are working in front of him, and he'll be able to make that decision and that determination. This is a moment in which I can join. This is a moment in which I can impact and make a game-changing play in the final third.
Frank, you agree?
I totally agree. I think he likes to move closer to the goal, but he doesn't want to be closer to the goal at first place. And in terms of playing the football and how he's been educated about this football, I remember seeing Pep Guardiola playing when he was at the midfielder in Barcelona. That was those kind of players. Magnificent in the middle, knowing exactly what to do, playing simple, 1-2 touches max. And that was what Pedri has above Guardiola's talent, is he can score goals. Guardiola maybe he didn't need to. At the time, he had the players for that in front of him.
As we say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Next question now. Do you foresee this season as a two-horse race again between Arsenal and Liverpool? Or do you think Chelsea and City, despite their really poor start, could be in the mix and make the title race interesting? Stevie, you want to go first?
I don't want to say it looks like a two-horse race too early, particularly because both Liverpool and Arsenal, in terms of the way they've played the game, haven't been anywhere close to their best. But then maybe that's another reason why it could be just a two-horse race. Because if if they ever get to what they're capable of, then I don't think the rest are able to stay with them. I mean,
So it is a two-horse race.
I'm trying not to say that.
Fine, yeah.
It's just the way City and Chelsea are. I don't see City changing.
Well, City are not in the race.
I just don't see them changing. They're not going to find this consistency and dominant play the way they had 2 and 3, 4 years ago when they won the league.
Just say it, Stevie.
Yeah.
Just say it.
That's-
I think it will be.
Hey, Manchester City are in the race like the
think it will
fish was
be,
in the race
yeah.
with Jan.
Yeah, it's kind of looking that way. Yes.
Frank, no chance for
I
your
said I
boys
wasn't going to
Chelsea?
say it.
Well, there is a chance because so far, what I saw from Liverpool and Arsenal didn't convince me, and to simply saying, they're better than the others. Chelsea, they're still undefeated, and if they're not good enough for me, because I remember the last game against Fulham, they weren't good. They keep on winning, like Liverpool does, and maybe doesn't deserve to win. And like Arsenal does, and got some injuries. Saka won't be there for a little while. How it's going to work? I'm not really convinced about everything working for Arsenal. So it's an open door. Yes, it should be a two-horse race, but you always have a guest, and you never know which one's it's going to be. Either City, Chelsea, maybe Newcastle. We'll see.
Yeah, what do you mean? You always have a guest. We haven't had a guest in a while. It's been a two-horse race for a while.
All right,
Yes,
next
that's
question now from Stevie Nichols' personal assistant.
Oh,
Love
all
that.
right.
Stevie, well, no, this wasn't
Could
just
do
for
one.
Stevie. This is for everyone. Are these consistently awful team selections with the U.S. men's national team? Consistently awful team selections, will any club team ever trust Pochettino with player recruitment?
He's been dealt the hand he's got. Let's be honest. It's nothing to do with. There's not a player we're saying, I can't believe Pochettino hasn't brought them in.
Yeah.
Is there? I don't think there's one, Ali, is there?
You can take it. You can take that to
So
Hercules and
aye.
Casey if you want to.
So he's kind of been dealt the hand he's got. He's got to rely on Tim Ream,
No,
who's
but
what 38. He's got to rely on him. He doesn't.
I think
He
the
doesn't have a
question was-
recognised goalkeeper. He doesn't have a recognised centre forward. He doesn't have a playmaker. I mean, at the end of the day, his job is to figure out how he can be competitive with what he's got. But in terms of recruitment, he's got the hand he's dealt.
And of course, for clubs, the pond is a lot bigger.
But also, it's also fair to say that they should be further ahead than what they are right now under Pochettino.
Exactly.
I don't know what the shoulder shrug means, but
Well, because I'm trying to figure out if Pochettino is trying to play football, and then the closer he gets to the World Cup, he's going to go, you know what?
right?
We just can't play football. We're not good. We are not good enough to be competitive with anybody who's actually any good. And so, when it comes to the World Cup, we're going to do this, and that's the way we're going to be. That's my only escape clause for Pochettino.
And
is that somehow right now he's still trying to play what we'd call proper football.
I hear you. As it pertains specifically to the question, actually, we're already seeing how Pochettino will deal with this. Once this adventure with the national team, with the United States men's national team, is over, we already saw in his interview in Spanish television, in which he was already turning it to, well, I'm not scoring goals. I'm not defending. You see what I'm working with here? Mm-hmm. That is exactly how the interview is going to go I'm limited with what I could work with. And so, tell you what, I think we have access with your team and with your ability to find players and our scouting team. We're going to find the right pieces. And let me tell you, I'm your guy. And watch this beautiful PowerPoint presentation that I'm about to put on for you. This is going to be amazing. And I'm going to talk to you to death, and I'm going to be able to convince you. And by the end of that meeting, the guy has the job, not because of whatever he did or didn't do with the United States national team.
All right, final question now, and I really wanted to get to this one because I find it's kind of interesting. And Frank, I'm going to start with you. Radvin wants to know, did any of the guys have any jobs before becoming football players? Frank, were you working at Balmain?
No, I wasn't working at Balmain, but I was a commercial. I was selling clothes, Italian sport clothes, and Ancelotti, Carlo Ancelotti, was the image, the ambassador of that brand. And I was very proud. And when I saw Carlo, and I said, I was selling stuff, with your face on it, and I was very proud because I really loved Carlo when he was playing for AC Milan. I was selling, Italian brand sports clothes for like a year and a half, when I was in Meaux before signing for Laval, my first professional club,
Wow, a future World Cup winner with humble beginnings selling Italian sportswear. Stevie, what about you?
Oh,
you look
God.
like a man of many hats.
I had a few.
I knew it. List them off.
I worked for a milkman. I used to deliver milk.
Oh,
And then
on bike, on foot.
Oh,
I used to jump off the back
Get
of
mates?
the milk truck.
Oh, they had automobiles in your town.
Well, the reason I didn't stay there long was because I jumped off and ended up all across a dozen pints of milk. I was like, I can't be doing this anymore. Then my next job was washing walls in a factory. And then my final job was a brickies labourer, mixing cement.
So if we need any household repairs, you're the man to call.
No, absolutely not. If you need milk, forget it. If you need anything clean, forget it. And if you need any built-in and built, don't use my cement.
Okay.
Other
if
than
you
that,
need
you're
anything,
good.
don't call Stevie.
Yeah, if you need
just don't
anything.
call me.
Apart from expert analysis, though. Expert. Ale, what about you?
Thank you, guys.
So I went to a Catholic school in Venezuela. As part of going to a Catholic school, you have to do social hours. And so basically you have to work within the community. One of the things that I had to do, we had a school fair. And the day before the school fair, I had to tend to the little chicks because yes, but there were thousands of them in this room. And let's just say they're cute, the one, but when it's 1,000 and all of them are doing what they do, it's not pretty.
It's not fun.
It's not fun. And all the little chicks go, yeah. Beep, 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 beep. You're driving yourself crazy. I was there for, I would say, well, it was a whole day ahead of the school fair the next day. I completed my social hours with that and my community hours with that, but I honestly walked out of there thinking, I never want to see a chicken again. Like
A lot of poop.
Yes, well of course.
So farms are not for you.
Well, no.
Oh, you wash your hands since.
Well, yes. But I mean, since then, just grill the chicken. I don't want to see the actual chicken.
Oh, not a little pew pew.
I don't want to see the actual
Favorite
chicken.
food? Chicken nuggets.
Oh, yeah, but you're not eating the
Oh,
chain.
there were a bunch of chicken nuggets walking around.
Oh.
And then when people the next day when they won themselves a chick, they're like, oh my God, this is so cute. That's not cute. It's not cute.
That's
actually.
not cute. Wow.
It's not cute.
I think they're adorable.
Well, yes, one, but not a
But
thousand.
not 1,000 of them. All right, there you have it. Now you get to know our boys. Look how multi-talented they are. So much so that they'll be back again tomorrow for ESPN FC. Make sure to join us then.